Your Saturdays, not yours anymore. Pruning shears, bags of clippings, a saw back before noon, all to keep the yard from turning wild. But what if the problem was never your time? What if you've just been planting shrubs that fight you? Because while most demand constant trimming, a new wave thrives on being ignored, and it gets strange. Some sculpt their own shape. Others rebuild after winter flattens them. A few glow with berries long after everything else fades. So, you stop wrestling your garden and let it work for you. If that's the gardening you want, subscribe and join me. 9 new shrubs landing at Nurseries this July. Let's start with the toughest one. Number 1. Diavilla, the dry shade survivor. This is bush honeysuckle, a deciduous native that grew across North America long before anyone tried to tame it. And that origin is the whole point. It evolved in the hard places, rocky understories, sandy slopes, the dim ground beneath bigger trees where almost nothing ornamental will hold. So when a designer drops it into the worst corner of your yard, it isn't being asked to do anything it hasn't already survived for thousands of years on its own. Its real strength is adaptability. Diavilla performs in deep, partial shade and in full sun without skipping a beat, which makes it one of the few shrubs that will actually thrive in those awkward transition strips along a fence line or under a canopy. Its spreading root system grips loose ground and holds it, giving you natural erosion control on a slope where you'd otherwise be fighting runoff every season. It asks almost nothing of your soil. Nutrient-poor ground, rocky ground, sandy ground, it settles in and grows without fertilizer or fuss, which is exactly why it landed on a low intervention list. Here is the one critical detail. The real payoff isn't the flowers, it's the autumn foliage. The leaves don't turn one color. They shift to yellow, orange, and deep red all at once on the same plant, giving you a multi-tone fall display from a shrub you planted in your hardest spot. Plant it for the shade tolerance and the fall color blindsides you. USDA zones 3 through 9. That spread covers nearly the entire country from cold northern states down into the warm south. The downside? It can spread by those same roots that make it so good on slopes. In a tidy formal bed, give it defined edges or it will quietly widen its territory. Next, a compact bloomer the deer won't touch. Number 2. Japanese Spirea, the fill-it-fast workhorse. Spirea japonica has been a landscaper's shortcut for decades, and the newest cultivars, the double play series like Dolly and Doozy, push that reliability even further. The reason it earns a spot here is speed. These compact selections reach close to their mature proportions inside a single growing season, so the empty gap you're staring at in July reads as a finished planting by fall. No 2-year wait, no patchy bed. Its survival edge is built into the foliage. The leaves carry a chemistry deer largely refuse to browse, which means in neighborhoods overrun with deer pressure, this is one of the few flowering shrubs that survives the night intact. That alone moves it from a constant battle to a plant-and-forget choice. It keeps its own shape, growing dense enough to choke out weeds before they establish, so you're not weeding the bed every weekend either. It tolerates a broad range of ordinary garden soils without supplemental feeding. Here is the one critical detail. The single task that transforms this plant is one quick shear in July. After the spring flowers fade, you cut the spent blooms once, that's it, and the plant responds with a second wave of color in late summer while the canopy stays clean and tight. Skip it and you still have a healthy shrub. Do it once and you double the show. USDA zones 3 through 8, a wide cold range that suits most of the northern and central states comfortably. The downside? In several regions, Japanese Spirea is considered invasive and can seed into wild areas. Choose the modern sterile or low-seeding cultivars and check your local guidance before planting. Next, a shrub whose scent stops people before they even see it. Number 3. Korean Spice Viburnum, the fragrance anchor. Viburnum carlisi earns its place not through toughness but through one overwhelming sensory trait. In spring, it opens clusters of pinkish-white flowers that throw a sweet, spicy perfume across an entire yard, strong enough that visitors stop and look for the source before they ever spot the plant. Few shrubs deliver that kind of olfactory impact, and this one does it on near-total autopilot. The mechanism that makes it low maintenance is its growth rate. This is a slow, deliberate grower. Where fast shrubs force you into a pruning schedule just to keep them in bounds, this one builds a balanced, naturally rounded form over years and simply holds it. You're not racing its growth, you're watching it settle into a shape it maintains on its own. It's undemanding about soil too, adapting to various soil types without supplemental fertilizer, which keeps it firmly in the plant it and leave it category once it's established. Here is the one critical detail. Placement is everything with this shrub, and it's the one thing people get wrong. Tuck it into a far corner, and that incredible fragrance is lost on no one. Plant it beside an entryway, a patio, or a path you walk daily, and it turns a maintenance-free shrub into a daily sensory event every spring. The plant does the work. Your only real decision is where to point it. USDA Zones 5 through 9. Excellent cold hardiness that holds up through hard northern winters. The downside, the spectacular fragrance and bloom last only a few weeks in spring. The rest of the year it's a quiet, tidy green shrub, so treat the scent as a seasonal bonus, not the main event. Next, a native that turns electric purple in fall. Number 4. American Beautyberry Casimite, the metallic purple native. Callicarpa americana is a tough native deciduous shrub that thrives with almost no human hand on it, and its Asian relative Callicarpa bodinieri brings the same backbone. It grows wild across warm regions of the country, carrying long, arching branches and broad, light green leaves that stay clean and disease-free right through the heat of summer. That clean foliage is the first sign you're dealing with a plant that doesn't need you fussing over it. Its mechanism for survival is drought tolerance combined with a stubborn indifference to bad soil. Once established, it pushes through dry stretches and produces just fine in poor ground where pickier ornamentals sulk and fade. Pests largely leave it alone, so there's no spray schedule attached to it either. Here is the one critical detail. Everything this plant has been building toward arrives in September. The branches erupt in dense clusters of bright metallic purple berries that wrap tightly around the stems, a color so vivid and unusual it's practically unmatched by any other native shrub. That payoff comes from a plant you essentially ignored all summer, which is the whole appeal. It needs only occasional structural pruning to keep its arching form looking intentional rather than wild, and even that is optional depending on the look you want. USDA Zones 5 through 10. That warm, wide range makes it a strong choice across the south and into the lower Midwest. The downside? It's deciduous and can look sparse or twiggy in late winter after the leaves and berries are gone. Pair it with an evergreen neighbor if you want year-round structure in that spot. Next, a shrub that comes back stronger after winter knocks it down. Number 5. Abelia, the self-mounding comeback plant. Abelia, including bright modern cultivars like Funshine, belongs on this list because of how it builds itself. Rather than shooting upward and demanding correction, it gradually constructs a dense, rounded mound over several seasons entirely on its own. That self-mounding habit means it completely sidesteps the regular shearing that fast hedge plants force on you. The shape is the plant's job, not yours. It also runs a long bloom engine. From late spring straight through autumn, it produces a continuous succession of fragrant tubular flowers, giving pollinators a reliable food source across months when many shrubs have already finished. You get color and wildlife value for the price of doing nothing. Here is the one critical detail. In Zone 6 and colder, severe winter temperatures can cause partial dieback, branches that look dead by early spring. The instinct is to assume you've lost the plant. Don't. Abelia carries exceptional root system resilience, and it typically regenerates vigorously from the base in spring, rebuilding its full canopy without a single thing from you. What looks like a loss is just the plant resetting. USDA Zones 4 through 11. One of the widest ranges on this list, stretching from cold winter states all the way into subtropical climates. The downside? That cold climate dieback means a slower start each spring in northern zones, so it won't give you instant structure right out of winter the way an evergreen would. Patience through those first warm weeks is the price of admission. Next, an evergreen that holds its shape for decades without a single cut. Number 6. Dwarf conifers, the permanent structure. This group, the dwarf Norway spruce, the dwarf Mugo pine, the glow blue spruce, exists to solve the one thing flowering shrubs can't: year-round, unchanging structure. While everything else on this list drops leaves or dies back, these evergreens hold their form through every season, anchoring a bed in the dead of winter when nothing else is standing. Their entire low-maintenance value comes from one trait: they grow extremely slowly. Legacy evergreens betray you by outgrowing their space and crowding their neighbors, dragging you into endless corrective cutting. These dwarf cultivars simply don't. They maintain tight, naturally clean shapes that require no shearing and no tidying, ever. You plant the size you want, and it stays close to that size for years. They're also built for abuse. Across their range, they shrug off winter winds, the weight of heavy snow, and genuinely poor soil, the conditions that scorch or snap softer plants. Here is the one critical detail. Their greatest strength is also a limit you have to respect up front. Because they grow so slowly, they will not fill a gap for you the way a fast shrub does. Buy the mature size you actually want at planting time, because waiting for a dwarf conifer to grow into a roll is a multi-year proposition. USDA zones 3 through 8, a solidly cold hardy range that suits most northern and central gardens. The downside: that same slow growth makes larger specimens expensive at the nursery, since the grower spent years raising them. You're paying for time you don't have to spend yourself. Next, a coastal shrub that laughs at heat, salt, and wind. Number 7. Dwarf wax myrtle, the coastal armor. Morella carifera in its dwarf form is built for the places that destroy ordinary shrubs. It's adapted to hot, sandy, coastal ground, and it stands up to a stack of stresses at once: intense heat, relentless wind, high humidity, salt spray, and nutrient-starved soil. That combination is brutal for most ornamentals, and this plant treats it as home. Its survival mechanism is written into the leaf itself. The foliage carries thick, waxy cuticles that limit water loss through the leaf surface, so when heat and wind are pulling moisture out of everything around it, this shrub holds onto its own. Once its root system is established, it becomes highly drought-tolerant, asking only for an occasional deep soak during an extended dry spell. It also keeps itself in line. It holds a clean, tight, rounded shape without any manual pruning, which makes it an effortless boundary plant or a soft green backdrop along a path or driveway. Here is the one critical detail. Don't overwater it trying to be helpful. This plant is engineered for lean conditions, and constant irrigation or rich, soggy soil works against everything it's built for. Planted in the hot, exposed, sandy spot that frustrates you, that's precisely where it performs best. USDA zones 7 through 11. A warm climate range that makes it a standout for the south and coastal regions. The downside? That heat-loving nature means it won't survive hard northern winters. Outside its warm zones, it's simply the wrong plant. Match it to climate honestly. Next, a hydrangea that refuses to flop. Number 8. Reblooming hydrangea, the no-flop bloomer. Big leaf hydrangeas earned a frustrating reputation for one reason. They flopped. Heavy flower heads and a single summer downpour would fold the whole plant to the ground. New cultivars like Centennial Ruby and Let's Dance Lovable were bred specifically to end that, and the engineering behind them is the reason they belong on a low-maintenance list. The fix is structural. Breeders selected for highly rigid, lignified stems and thick, durable leaves, producing plants that hold their flower heads upright through heavy rain and wind without staking, caging, or any post-storm cleanup. The plant supports itself, a job you used to do by hand. It also reblooms on a schedule that minimizes loss. These shrubs flower continuously on both old and new wood, which means a late spring frost that kills the old wood buds no longer wipes out your entire season. The new wood still delivers. Here is the one critical detail. The reblooming dual wood habit changes how you treat it. You don't need to prune it on the careful timing schedule old hydrangeas demanded. Because it flowers on new growth too, it keeps its color going for up to 130 days, and it fits cleanly into mixed borders and containers without you managing its structure at all. USDA zones 4 through 9, a broad range that covers most of the country outside the temperature extremes. The downside: hydrangeas still want consistent moisture and some shelter from harsh afternoon sun, so this is the one plant here you'll want to place in a cooler, partly shaded, reliably moist zone rather than a bone-dry border. Next, a shrub so low it lives at the very front of the bed. Number 9. Dwarf Vagula, the front row colour. Dwarf Vagula selections like Midnight Wine and My Monet close out this list by solving a specific design problem: the front edge of the bed. These deciduous shrubs stay below 18 inches tall, which makes them perfect right at the front, where a taller plant would block everything behind it. They fill that low band with colour instead of leaving it bare. What makes them low maintenance is that the colour isn't only in the flowers, it's in the leaves all season long. The foliage runs deep burgundy or variegated pink and white, holding contrast from spring through fall, and it's joined by vibrant pink flowers in late spring, so even outside bloom time, the plant is still doing visual work without any input from you. And like the best plants here, they hold their own form. These compact cultivars require no pruning to keep their tidy, mounded shape, which makes them quietly efficient. You place them once, and they stay neat. Here is the one critical detail. Their value is entirely in that low front-of-border placement. Plant a dwarf Vagula behind taller shrubs and you bury the very foliage colour you bought it for. Set it at the front edge where the burgundy or variegated leaves catch the light all season, and a maintenance-free shrub becomes the brightest line in the whole bed. USDA zones 4 through 8, a dependable cold-hardy range well suited to northern and central gardens. The downside? Being deciduous, it disappears entirely in winter, leaving a gap at the front of the bed. Plan the rest of the border so that empty low strip isn't the only thing on display in the cold months. And now you've got the full picture. 9 shrubs. Each one chosen for a reason. Not because they're flashy at the nursery, but because they keep performing while you do nothing. Look at the list and it isn't random. It's a system. Something is always holding structure. Something is always in bloom. Something is always covering the spot you'd otherwise be fighting. No long stretches of bare, demanding ground, just steady output across the seasons. Most gardeners ask, what looks good right now? But the ones with effortless yards ask a different question. What will keep going when I stop showing up? Build around that, and your garden stops draining your weekends and starts handing them back. If this changed how you see your own yard, subscribe and I'll see you in the next one.